Welcome to the BudsnReality Show, the number one Liberty podcast out of Detroit. I am Sean Collins, the guy with a lot to say, and I'm here with two special guests, Mr. Michael Rectenwald and Mr. Mark Puls. How we doing, guys?
Well, thank you.
Doing
Good.
awesome.
I'm glad to have you guys. This is actually a revisited podcast. We talked about it last week. It was supposed to go out last week, and a series of unfortunate events kind of laid a path, and so we had to pull the show, and we're doing it again. So here we are. Thank you guys so much. This is awesome. The main reason we are doing this show, which, by the way, this is one time. We're going to talk about this, at least from my end, one time, and this will never be talked about again. I'm pulling a Trump on you guys, but like the fact of the matter is a lot of us feel some type of way about the National Convention of the Libertarian Party that happened back in May. I happen to be one of those people. I also happen to believe that Mr. Rectenwald was hosed. I know that I'm not the only one who believes this, but let's just dig into this, you guys. Let's go. Let's talk about convention because there's a lot to hit here.
Yeah, I mean,
Doctor, I'd love to yield to you, sir. You were the one involved directly with it, so please share your story if you could.
Yeah, I mean, in case your listeners don't know, I won the first 5 rounds of voting out of effectively what amounted to 6 rounds. I won the first 5. And then when it came to the 6th round, Mr. Mike Termott had been knocked off the board. We were talking to him all day. For several months, he had promised when he got knocked off that he would endorse me if he got knocked off. He didn't think he would, but we knew he would, and he did in the 5th round. And in that elimination, we had talked before that he would not support, that he would endorse me. And so when it came time to call in the chips, we went to his part of the convention hall. And I had Mike Heiss there. I had Dave Smith. I had Clint Russell. I had a whole slew of other people, I guess Jeff Douglas and several other people. And we're basically just trying to extract this promise. And I says, so we didn't get it. And then, he went to the microphone. And just as he went to the microphone, right before he was called on to speak, I asked him, Mike, you're not going to throw to Chase now, are you? And he shook his head, no, just like this, no, and acted as if that was a preposterous question. Then no less than 10 seconds later, he says he was going to be Chase's VP candidate.
Which is very bizarre to me, and I'm going to let Mark chime in after I'm done real quick, but, I believe he had promised you multiple times that he was going to ride with you if he lost, but he did kind of play like he wasn't going to lose in the first place. But if he did, quote unquote, lose, he was going to ride. How many times did he actually promise you these things?
No less than 4 times.
Okay.
In person at least twice. In fact, in one convention in Texas, he said he said he would do anything to keep Chase from winning.
Very interesting. That's extremely interesting, just because of the fact that he's a Mises guy. Like Mike Termott.
Well, he said he was. The other thing he said when he announced that he was going to be Chase's VP candidate, he said he complained about the Mises caucus, that the caucus, he had tried to work with the caucus, but they wouldn't work with him, whatever that means. I think what he wanted was their endorsement, or failing that they would have no official endorsee. But they did. That was me. I was endorsed strongly by the caucus, and they made that clear over the series of the campaign, over the process of the campaign, in a series of emails.
And not even endorsed by them, but Dave Smith was asked to run as well, and he endorsed you when he wasn't running. I mean, Dave is like the head. He's kind of the North Star of us, right? He's kind of the guy we're all looking towards. And to get his endorsement was pretty ringing at the time, especially with the power of the movement.
Yes, it was. I had his endorsement early on, and then he actually spoke at the convention, gave a nomination speech for me at the convention as well. By the way, I had won the debate, hands down, except they had to let Chase in because, and they acknowledged this, that there were a lot of fraudulent ballots cast in the straw poll ballot for who was the winning candidate of the debate, which there was no question, hands down, I crushed the debate. Nobody else got standing ovations, applause. Then when on the next day, well, after they drug out the proceedings on Saturday using all kind of parliamentarian tricks and games, some of which you've pointed out to me, Sean, where they've said basically stall, do this, fuck it up, all this kind of stuff. And,
which I'd be glad to show you guys right now. So this happened on the convention floor. I have the receipt right here. Let me pull it up right quick. Because when it came down to final voting, and this is the part I'm not too sure about, which was between you and Chase at the end, or Chase and Noda, but it would make more sense if it was.
Well, there was a round between me and Chase, and then nobody got the 50% necessary to win outright. He got something like 49 point something, and I got 45, whatever I got. And so they thought that they had to run him against Noda, but that wasn't actually true. They could have rerun the head-to-head between him and me instead. That was legal according to the bylaws, but
it would make logical sense in the bylaws. It would make logical sense in the bylaws that you'd have that, where there are two candidates left, and obviously Noda's always an option, right? But if there's down to two candidates and no one gets 50%, you get down till there's one candidate left. It would just make logical sense to be in the bylaws.
Right. You'd run it again against the last standing candidate, not against Noda necessarily, but they ran him against Noda, and that was a no-brainer. I mean, there was enough people that had supported me that thought, we don't want to have no candidate for president. This could jeopardize ballot access. So they were misled. Unfortunately, I think Andrea made a bit of a mistake. Angela McCardle. I said Andrea. I have another friend on mind, sister of a friend who just died. Anyway, Angela, I think, made a bit of a mistake.
Sorry for your loss.
But I don't blame her. I mean, look, they were coming at her. Plus we know about all the delay tactics that they pulled Saturday. Furthermore, the 3 illegal states that got included in the delegation.
Mine is one of them, and we're going to dig into that. My state, Michigan, and you kind of hit the nail on the head when it came to this. These are DC floor announcements right here. This is a text message from either a Signal or a Discord. I don't know. This is what happens at libertarian events where people just kind of text each other through things. But this is Mr. Jonathan Casey.
Can you read it? Because we can't. I don't think
yes. So Jonathan Casey on the DC floor announcements during all this madness. Emergency in big letters. Get to the mics and fuck shit up. Stall. POOS, whatever that means, I'm not too sure. Point of information, personal inquiry, air conditioning too cold, anything to stall in big letters. I will show it here again, right here. This came from somebody.
Now, that was on Saturday.
That came from somebody who was actually counting votes. I won't give their name for reasons, but that came from. I wasn't there, but I had eyes and ears everywhere during that convention.
That's a new twist.
I got reports from multiple people during this. And the fact of the matter is when you brought up the 3 states, Michigan, Washington, and Oklahoma. Michigan, I know for a fact, had 22 delegates that were supposedly allowed to vote. But out of those 22, 15 of those should have been illegitimate. And multiple of those 15 actually had their Libertarian Party memberships revoked by the Michigan JC. Okay?
Oh, my God.
Literally.
They weren't even party members, and yet they were serving as delegates.
Please make me understand this, right? This is what I'm talking about. I don't know the story behind Washington and Oklahoma. I really don't. But I would imagine it's somewhere along the same lines. Now,
yes.
That being said,
if this were one of the two major parties, and it had happened in 2-3 months ago now, 2 months, I guess, I don't know, then this would still be a national story until the bottom of it was reached, if ever,
Absolutely, and this is what we're trying to do here right now, is to get to the bottom of it, because I feel some type of way about it, because not only did they allow these people to get on the floor, which is one thing. Like, I respect Angela McArdle, I do. Do I agree with her on everything? I don't. But I don't agree with anybody on everything, really, in the grand scheme of things. But she kind of dropped the ball when, it came to a vote to allow these quote unquote legitimate or illegitimate delegates to get on a chair to be a delegate for national. Instead of taking a 7/8 vote, which it should have been, to get these people seated to be delegates, they took a majority only. This would have never passed in a 7/8 vote. Not ever, not nowhere, no how. Just because of the fact that there's lawsuits tied to certain individuals I know from Michigan for sure, because this is where I'm at and I'm involved with the LP here, that, these people should not have been seated as delegates.
Yeah, that's one thing. And let's talk about why, I think for your listeners who may not know about this, why was it a big deal that they were trying to stall on Saturday when the vote for the presidential nominee could have very well happened if not for all this stalling? Why they wanted to stall is because they knew many members of the Mises caucus did not have rooms for Sunday night and would have to leave on Sunday. Therefore, we would have attrition of delegates, okay? That's what they knew was happening.
Wow, Mark.
And I saw that live from a 50,000 foot perspective, if I may. Once again, full transparency, I am of no political party. I came to this. Dr. Rectenwald was kind to join the podcast with me, and his ideas were sound, and he became my horse. And I watched every round of that. And I was watching those points of parliamentary procedures, those points of inquiry, where the bathroom was, the air conditioner thing you even mentioned. I heard those directly, and we definitely should pull the footage. I mean, that should definitely be pulled by somebody. There's somebody investigative enough to look and just go, what kind of stupid question 3 days into the conference where the bathroom is? It's clearly, there's clearly something, right? Like,
if the stakes were any higher, this would have been all over the place, but we're only talking about the Libertarian Party, whose candidate for president has no chance of winning, of course. So this just hasn't gotten any legs. But back to the three states delegates, you said 15 of them from Michigan were not legitimate. And then there were several, I think altogether it came to something like 33 or 32 illegitimate delegates that were included.
Wow. Okay. So now let's go here. And this is where I'm going to piss off a lot of the Libertarian Party, which what else is new? Because I'm not a libertarian. I'm not a real libertarian. I'm an anarchist. And this is why the Libertarian Party needs anarchists, is to call out the bullshit that is happening within the party. And the bullshit is that not only is Chase Oliver an illegitimate presidential candidate, the whole convention should have been illegitimate, considering the fact that there were so many delegates that were under question. And that's like, I'll die on that hill. I will literally die on that hill. The fact that the whole convention should be illegitimate period, because the fact that they had these delegates there that didn't belong there, and also that Angela McArdle dropped the ball on the proper voting to get those seated in the first place.
Let's throw another little.
I have a question about that. Can I ask about the delegate thing as a complete ignoramus?
Yes.
Yeah.
How many delegates are total that can vote? And then you said 33 of them were definitely illegitimate. So I'm just curious what those numbers are.
Well,
when it's a full complement of people.
Well, remember the difference between Chase and I in the 6th round was 45 votes. Okay, so you throw that in, there's another possibility that I would have won more votes. Plus, so I don't think that was the margin of difference entirely. I'm saying that we died by 1,000 cuts, and that was one of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Termott flip. I mean, the Termott backing Chase
Termott
just
flip was,
upended everything ultimately.
Yeah, and I mean that's all got very interesting now, because there's a huge battle underway within the party, in particular focused on Colorado, the LP Colorado affiliate, whose delegates voted not to put Chase Oliver on the ballot, but whose delegates voted to put RFK Jr. on the ballot. Now, before they could submit the paperwork to the Secretary of State, the Libertarian Party National Secretary, in connection with Chase Oliver and Termott, the Oliver Termott campaign, they submitted a slate of affidavits with 9 illegal delegates represented. Now, that's not only a violation of bylaws and the undermining of the Colorado Libertarian Party of Colorado, it's also against the law. It's fraud, election fraud. Okay, so now, should that case get pushed forward, this could nullify Chase Oliver and Mike Termott from the ballot altogether. Because if, in fact, fraud is found, if they could do this case in time, then he would have been in violation of the LP bylaws, which say that you can't undertake such fraudulent activity, and you're thrown out of the party. You'd be thrown off the ticket, of course. So all of this is underway now, and I'm intimately connected to it in ways that I can't really say. But I know a great deal about what's going on there, and it is. I'm looking at some documents here. The Libertarian Party of Colorado submitted a petition to the National Committee alleging these fraudulent activities and bylaw violations, and they are, according to my sources, willing to pursue this in all ways.
I mean, here's the catch. So that's big news, and that's huge, actually. But the Libertarian Party of Colorado, as a state, should be able to run their affiliate as they deem fit.
That's correct.
Number one. Number two,
they're autonomous.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Now, number two, when we're talking about a violation of LP platform and LP principles, I'm sorry, guys, I'm not sorry at all. Chase Oliver is violating the LP platform with his take on transing children when it comes to giving them puberty blockers. Now, is he against the actual surgery for minors? Yes. But he's okay with giving them the puberty blockers, which is a form of abuse. And when the LP platform says it's against all forms of abuse, well, that includes child abuse. That includes transing children when children cannot consent. Now, when it comes to the RFK thing and the LP,
May I jump in there really quickly on that? Because I think I want to clarify why that is abuse. Puberty is a natural process. Anything children have to go through a natural process until adulthood. That's why they don't have the full consent as a child. They don't have the full capacity as a child. That's why they are protected as a child. So it is completely out of the child's protection that a child is allowed to go through its natural process to adulthood, and at that point is now baked as an adult and then becomes sentient as a full consent, and then can now protect other children.
Yeah, they can't give consent. Now, what to chase Oliver followers, if there are any, there's a few come around my Twitter occasionally. What they say is that it's not a NAP violation because there are many things that adults have to mandate to their children without the child's consent. Things like life-saving surgery and matters like that. So they say, well, this is no different. What makes this different? And then furthermore, they go on to suggest that that's basically it. That they look at this as not an infringement, and they think that the child doesn't necessarily have to consent. Oh, here's the main thing. They say, so what do you want, the state to step in and outlaw this? Okay, so basically they're saying, and they're suggesting that they're against the state.
Like doctors can't say no. Like doctors can just not say no.
Yeah, but I mean, like, this is like saying, okay, the state has a law against murder. Well, since it's the state laws, let's violate it. Okay, so what the...
True story, though. True story.
It's effectively the same argument. The state says murder's illegal. We want to oppose the state, therefore we're going to commit murders. That's effectively what they're saying. That argument doesn't hold water. So the argument goes back to this idea whether the child has... whether children need to consent to this, and they say it's like other life-saving, operations or life-saving interventions. This is a life-saving intervention, which is belied by all evidence. By the way, there's overwhelming evidence that it's not at all life-saving. In fact, I believe, and don't quote me on this, but I'll say it anyway. I believe that the suicide rate is higher amongst those that have already undergone transition than it is.
It is. I think it's like a 40% number. I heard something crazy like that.
40% of people who trans themselves killed themselves.
Still commit suicide, and people were talked into transing because they felt different and felt like they were going to kill themselves. So they're like, well, this will save their life. And then they butcher them.
So there's
as a
so
child,
many,
and then still happens, right? Still has the same result.
There's so many other psychological determinants here that could be real, that really could be treated, or that should be considered. Like, right now, everything that's otherwise typical of adolescent psychodynamics, like anxiety and depression, it is all being conflated with genderism and the need to change one's gender. So they have taken all these
and calling it care,
and this is gender affirming care, even as they erase the original gender of the person in question. So that's gender affirming. Everything in this dystopian Orwellian world is the inverse of what these kind of people say. And these people prove to me they're just like the NPCs amongst the Democrats. They're another contingent of useful idiots. They mouth the same regime rhetoric as the Democrats do. It's the same stuff. and they use the same epithets, and they try to call you the same names. These people are leftists with libertarian sprinkles on top.
Yes, yes, which I want to go into that because I do feel like, there was a time where it was, for me, it was cool to be like edgy and something different to be a libertarian. And then I got involved, right? And once you get involved in the Libertarian Party, it's a totally different animal. And I've literally...
It's got to be like quicksand. I can't even imagine what it must be to try to herd cats and a tribe of the tribeless. Like, I can't even imagine.
That's one aspect of it. There's some other things about it. First of all, the Libertarian Party, this is not the party itself, but the members therein think of themselves as very distinct from the advocates and followers of the other two major so-called uniparty or duopoly parties. Yet their operatives behave in the exact same ways, in undercutting, swindling, all kinds of backroom legerdemain, and so forth. So there's no difference. These people are emulating that which they claim to hate.
Yes, and they showcased that at convention on multiple levels. Like, first off, they invited the quote unquote enemy to their convention. They brought RFK, they brought Donald Trump, they brought Vivek Ramaswamy over there, and right. I was very much against that. I really was. The main reason was being that I did a lot of shows with you guys, all the presidential candidates for the Libertarian Party. And I did multiple shows with all you guys. And it kind of, in one way or another, it kind of just felt like we were kind of friends or we were kind of homies in a way. So, like, the first inkling of seeing that, they're bringing Trump there and stuff like that, I was like...
To upstage us, yeah. It looked like they were upstaging us, yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. And that's exactly what it was. They came to upstage us, And then, I spoke out and I was like, they're going to do this. It's going to turn into a giant Trump rally, which it didn't. I did apologize to Angela publicly on that one because I need to...
No, what it turned into was quite the opposite. What it turned into was the exhibition of TDS symptomology to the nth degree and the competition for who had the worst TDS. They kept up in the ante, like how frothing and vitriolic and nasty can we be to and about Donald Trump? It became absurd. It was so childish. So we're talking,
that's ridiculous.
That's what it turned
ridiculous.
into.
Like, once again, as an outsider, those people asking to join that convention, I thought was a win. Just from an exposure standpoint. But that was with the caveat that Dr. Rectenwald was going to win the nomination. Like, Dr. Rectenwald wins the nomination, has the support of the Libertarian Party, and has the exposure has the exposure of Trump or whatever, and doesn't look like a joke coming out of it with the decision that was made. That's what I think it was. The decision, it was a wasted opportunity on such a monumental scale, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we could have had the floor. I was going to be the most radical presidential candidate in the history of the United States of America. I was not only calling for ending the Fed, I was calling for ending the federal government. Okay,
the Fed, Ed, everything. And what's great about that is, look, we're here to send a message that smaller is what we need, and that's the only way to start is by starting to cut. The only way to cut is to start.
But my old campaign. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go. Yeah,
my campaign credo was really found in an article by Murray Rothbard called "In Defense of Radical Idealism." Okay, and his position was that we come out demanding everything. And what do we mean by that? We want the abolition of the state. That's the ultimate object. And if we tell them we want less, we're bound to get even less than that. So you have to come out strongly, and that's what I was going to do. And do we take minor victories along the way? Of course we take them. But as long as we have the proper North Star, we knew we were going in the right direction. And that North Star was the dramatic, if not total, abolition of the federal government. Okay.
Amen. I don't think so. Like in the beginning, like when you first came on my show, I did kind of drill you a little bit because I was unsure about you. And that's when you started to grow on me a little bit. Because in the beginning, I was like, oh, no, this socialist guy, who's this socialist guy that's coming in the Libertarian Party and blah, blah, blah.
Listen, as Hoppe pointed out, Hans Hermann Hoppe, there's something true about Marxism. They're correct. There's a class war. They just have the wrong class enemy identified. So there is a class war. It's between the people and the state.
Yes. Which, like, when I asked you straight up, I was like, hey, what's up with your socialist background? And without missing a beat, and this is when you started to sell me, is the first time you came on my show. Without missing a beat, I said, hey, what's up with the socialist background? You're like, socialist? I was a Marxist, straight up. And I was like, wait, excuse me? Like, you were a what? Like, what? And now you have my attention because you became very honest at that point. Because there's a huge difference between socialism and Marxism. So like you came out and said, hey, I'm the worst of the two, but then I found my way over here and I was like, okay. And then there was the big selling point was you were sick during one of the debates. You weren't
I think that was
like,
Connecticut. I believe that was Connecticut. Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't be there, in person, but you were allowed to come on the TV. So,
Yes,
they were pulling everybody in and out, and Larry Sharp had asked Mike Termott how he felt about the Federal Reserve. And Mike Termott, not verbatim, was like, yeah, I respect the Fed. I've worked with them in the past. Blah, blah,
good
blah.
people there.
Yeah. All of a sudden, Rhett comes in on the TV almost like Darth Vader, dude. Like, boom. You know what I'm saying? It's like he literally comes out and says, I don't respect the Federal Reserve at all. They're a gang of they're a criminal organization. They're a gang who's out to bleed you dry. Not verbatim, but it was some along those lines. And I was like,
I said
shit.
they're criminals who belong in jail is what I said.
Yeah. And I was like, this guy's base, dude. He's all right, man. He's going to be all right and we're going to be good, And so that was, I had my top three, there was a top
There's
three.
no stronger anti-communist or anti-statist, really, than a former Marxist. I'll just tell you that right now. Once
Which you kind of showcased. You did.
And from the right, I was a neocon. Like when you were kind enough to come on my show and you're a Marxist and I'm a neocon, we're literally, people talk about the ideological divide.
Oh, I
like
wasn't a Marxist when I came on your show.
The Marxists and the neocon are like, here, it's just style of government, not size, right? Like they just want war and this one all whatever, That's the thing. And I love that we were just so honest about where we faulted because we have to show others. People, we can clamor all day about this stuff. Sean, you always said it. No one's born a libertarian. We come to this from these other places that we're told to have been. And then we come to this other magical place that no one talks about. You learn it. Right. It's like through experience. It's not through the corporate media feeding you what you should hear. It's like Fox is just the controlled opposition. We're seeing the elephant is just slowly keeping the progression from going too fast to make it look like they care. No, it's style of government that they argue over, not size. We want a small government. Less power to wield is the only answer to make everyone more free.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean,
with the ultimate objective elimination, but
well, yeah, absolutely.
I'm not going to stop there.
I look at it like this: like between the RNC, the DNC, and the LNC. This whole election should be illegitimate. Honestly, the Democrats never ran a proper primary, and the party of democracy has literally force-fed two different candidates now, because, whatever. So that's democracy. Great. And then the Republican Party ran a shit, primary because Trump was never there. And then the Libertarian Party comes with this convention that is completely illegitimate just because of the fact that there was delegates there who shouldn't have been there voting in the first place. And I could take it all the way back to March 9th in Michigan, where they voted themselves back in to become delegates. Right?
Illegally?
Yes. Well, because of the bylaws or whatever, it's like if those people show up, they win their votes, and those people did show up. But the fact of the matter is the JC had literally taken away LP memberships from certain individuals out of those 15. It wasn't all the 15, but I want to say it was like maybe a third or a little more out of those 15 who had their memberships revoked by the Michigan JC, and they were able to vote themselves back in at our convention in March, which is how the whole delegation thing in DC happened. Like, I look at the Libertarian Party now as just as corrupt as the other ones at this point because of what they're doing.
Look, it's not the leadership. I don't think Angela's not she's not corrupt. It's this infiltrative body, this band of infiltrators into the party who for various reasons, they have this very strong antipathy toward the Mises Caucus and also toward anything outside of the party. So their object is not to gain liberty in the world. Their object is to control the Libertarian Party. That's what they want. That's their real end game, whether they admit it or not. They're what we call party justice warriors. They're not out for liberty per se. They're out for the party as such. And
you said it nicer than me. I'm going to say they're a group of retards who want to keep their, no, they are. They're a group of retards who want to keep their social club going and have no intention of putting their boots on the ground and moving liberty forward.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing, is that the Mises Caucus members are more radical than these other people, and they actually do work. They actually do work. They do things. They are actually involved. Look at Colorado. The people out there are deeply involved in local politics. They fight it out every week. So the thing is, the more radical people end up being the more active ones pragmatically. That's the irony, really. But anyway, this is all politics. And, the thing happened. It went down as it did. Did I feel screwed? Oh, big time. And was it tough to come back from? Yes. But,
You were screwed, period.
Yeah. And that was the point. You mentioned, you guys both touched on it. What was interesting when I spoke with you, Dr. Rectenwald, was, this seems like a principled individual. You can agree or disagree on a policy that he has, but this is what he believes. You know it going in. He tells you how he got there, where he came from, how he learned. That's good. If you can show your work, I'm on board. Yeah. Then you get this politics that comes in.
Yeah, I had written for the Mises Institute for 8 years before I ran for this thing. So, and I had done speaking engagements for them on numerous occasions, and then many other.
And you had been canceled already. You'd already been canceled by the left at this point. You know, so just from, once again, from an outside perspective, it was and because I was a neocon who got tricked in about Iraq, when I saw what happened at the Libertarian Convention, it was quicker. It was politics, done, out. Focus on the liberty part. It just became so apparent to just, let's really just move that Overton window towards liberty and freedom as much as possible now.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do now. And I can't really speak yet about what I'm doing, but I'm not done. I'm working on this stuff and doing a 2-pronged, 3-pronged attack to try to advance.
To be honest,
liberty.
I think you're free. I'm not going to lie. I think you're free. I think the presidential nomination would have handcuffed you just for an additional 6 months or so, and then you would have done whatever you're doing now. This just gets you a head start to it. let's not kid ourselves. I mean, if that's the way it's going to play out, just get yourself a head start and start working, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that was going to be I was just going to be a mouthpiece for this particular, for what I believe and what the party stands for and what I stand for and what we need, what I think we desperately need. And so I was going to be that messenger, and I think we would have shaken things up a lot more than that. Right now, whatever they're doing, I don't even hear a word about it. I don't know what they're doing, if anything. I know that their fundraising was abysmal. And speaking of which, I heard that Mr. Termott is not exactly, he may be slightly disaffected with the whole thing. This is the irony, man. Apparently, he already talked. Oh boy, wait a minute. I better not go there. Let's just say he could be disaffected with the chase. Yeah.
Well, we can't pull this joke.
Can we say something really quickly? First of all, let's keep one episode up, guys. Secondly, we talked about this. The freedom comes with the responsibility. We will speak our mind. We will speak our opinion. We will speak our speech. What you and I, the three of us, we know that responsibility comes with that speech. So we will refuse to do our best to say something out of bounds that may be incorrect. So
yeah, that's right.
We
I'm
do
not
realize
sure.
that.
All I can say is, and this isn't incorrect. I have heard from some people that Mike Termott may be very disaffected with the Chase Termott ticket. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, this is what we do know, is that Chase is going to take less than 1% of the vote.
Oh, no, it'll be like 0.2% at the most.
It'll probably be worse than Joe Jorgensen, honestly.
Oh, way worse.
But the fact of the matter, which is really funny because I have Joe Jorgensen signs in my basement because I didn't know any better back then. And then once I learned about her, I was like, oh my God, that was a terrible candidate. But I'm looking at her signs right now that I've had since 2020. But no, Rex, seriously, man, you put together a really good campaign. You had the backing. And then corruption became corrupt, and that's what it was. Like, we have the receipts. We've given the receipts, and anybody can look these up at any moment. Like, you can look up the faulty delegates. You can look up the DC floor announcements that I shared on the show. You can go and do all those things. The fact of the matter is that the LP dropped the ball on probably the biggest opportunity they've ever had to do something.
Yeah.
Because,
like I said, I don't want to say it was the chair or was the board. I think in the end, the party, if you count all the delegates that were there, yes, the LP dropped the ball. These delegates, you call them retarded. I'd say they're just politically naive and more or less inculcated with regime ideology and narratives. They don't realize it, but they are. They're just NPCs largely. So
right now. So what is it from here? Like, what's next for you? What is? Do you have an adventure that you're trying next? Are you done?
Well,
with
I'm still working in this arena in a different way. I'm fundraising for the Mises Caucus, so to keep that decentralized revolution project going, which, by the way, is being incorporated into the LP as its strategy now, as we speak. Okay, this is other inside information that I have for you. Okay. And I have another assignment that I can't speak about yet. It's huge. So, yeah, I'm fine. I mean, it was a period there.
So basically, you're going to break the news with Sean again, is what you're telling us.
Yeah,
I'll break it with you. I'll break it. I'll break it with you. Yeah.
All you have to do is ask. There we go.
This is great.
I'm just waiting on a signature from the other end, and until I actually see, they sent the contract.
Chickens till they're hatched, friend.
I want to make sure the ink is on the page.
And that's what we need. Like we need more real. We need more truth. We need more solid stuff. You know what I mean? Which
I actually have an interesting guest for that, but I'm not gonna. I'll talk to you offline on it.
But Mr.
Wait, I'm not
Rectenwald,
interested. Go ahead.
no, Mr. Rectenwald, you have you've definitely opened eyes. You've definitely stirred the pot, which I love stirring the pot. That's one of my favorite things to do, to be quite honest with you. But I only do it in a way of love. I want liberty to move forward. So whatever my avenue is to do it is how I do it, which is kind of how I feel you did it. As long as
that's right.
Forward.
Yeah, I mean, I was asked to run in the first place. I was just writing and giving talks, and what else? Basically selling books and things like that. I was also a fellow at Hillsdale College, which was nice, remunerative activity, and that all lines of income disappeared because of the campaign. I lost my Hillsdale Fellowship because of my campaign. I lost my book publisher because of the campaign. I lost my podcast because of the campaign, and so forth. So, if I say I'm doing, what's that?
That's this is the price you pay for showing people what liberty is, though. This is what it is. I'm with you. I've been there. I haven't lost book deals or anything like that because I'm not an author. But I will say this: half my family and peers will not speak to me because of what I'm doing.
That's big.
So I do understand where you're coming from, and I can be empathetic to that 100%.
And if I may as well, I've been doing this thing for a while. I have not monetized a single penny of this podcast, for example. And I just invested just in Freedom Fest alone. It was like 3,000 to 4,000 with hotel and just all the equipment upgrades and everything. Cause it was about making it right and trying to do my best. You know what I mean? Cause we have to put everything we can into this. It is a passion. There is a struggle here that we're willing to go through to get to that other side, I think.
So let me just add this then. Yes, you're right, Mark. I agree 100%. Whatever I do next will be in the service of liberty, no matter how it looks. That's all I got to say.
And I love that. No matter what, liberty is the final answer. Liberty is the solution to everything that is happening right now. The political landscape of our country, to call it a clusterfuck would be an understatement, really. But a lot of people, and let's put the haters in their place real quick. I'm not a Mises Caucus guy. I'm not actually a part of the Mises Caucus. Am I Mises adjacent? Hell yeah, I am. I agree with a lot of what they're doing. The people I ride with are Mises Caucus and such. But there's something that needs to happen, and it needs to happen right now. And you spoke about it, the decentralized revolution. We're talking about decentralization. We're talking about nullification, a township revolution. It doesn't start at the federal level.
No, it doesn't.
There's no winning at the federal level. The people will always lose here at the federal level.
That's what I said throughout the whole campaign. I said, unless we do something on the ground at the local level, a decentralized revolution, unless we're leading that, which is all I wanted to do as the candidate, was to lead that. If we're not doing that, I said, we're doing nothing. And I said this straight up in the campaign, and I took grief for that. They were saying, oh, he's saying, do you want to vote for a candidate who says he's going to lose? That's not a smart approach. That wasn't exactly what I said. What I was saying is that winning we have to win in another way. And I was willing to be the messenger for that.
Culturally, hearts and minds. I mean, literally, you have to get people into believing in it.
Yes, I said
if people
this
don't
too.
believe in it, right?
Yeah.
If they don't buy into the concept, there's no moving forward. I mean, I talk to people for example, we talk about Trump. It's like, okay, Trump's so great for us compared to the other guy or the other person now, whoever that may be. It's not going to be Kamala, by the way, or Kamala, whatever her name is. Anyway, I'm just I'm calling my shot. It's not going to be her come November, I don't think. But, you have that. And it's like, well, yeah, but Trump did bump stock bans. And he was happy to work with the Fed. He's going to build a new FBI building. I mean, does that sound like the guy who's fighting the state? Does that sound like a guy who's fighting the state or willing to work with them? Because Trump is a great negotiator in that respect. He knows how to schmooze and work with people in that way. We're done with that. That's what got us here. We need to get out. Mm-hmm. We need to completely untangle that. And the only way to do it is with a head-on assault. Saying you're going to drain the swamp while you don't do it, and then I think you and I talked about it, Sean, Jamie Dimon or Fink in the cabinet as Treasury and Fed. Are you kidding me? Thanks. No thanks.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So like all these other libertarians who are not Mises Caucus are saying, oh, well, they're a bunch of neocons and they're just going to go vote for Trump. I'm sorry. Anybody who's like a level-headed Mises Caucus person is not going to vote for the guy who's going to put Larry Fink and Jamie Dimon in his cabinet. You're not going to see it. We're the ones who want to end the Fed. We want to end the wars. We want to end the empire. We're not going to deal with this.
Yeah, I was even told. Yeah, I was told recently on Facebook, somebody said, you were just going to win the nomination and drop out to help Trump. I said, I'm already knocked out, and I'm not supporting Trump now. Okay, so I don't support Trump. So how was I supposed to be doing this for Trump? By the way, the grand irony here is that if I had won, it would have hurt Trump. If I had won the nomination, it would have hurt Trump. Whereas if Chase is hurting anybody, which is very negligible, I don't think the only thing he might be hurting is his big toe as he stumps it on a bedpost or something like that. I don't think he's going to really hurt anything. But if he did, it would have been the Democrats that he hurt because he's a leftist. So,
which is but no, it's going to happen.
I'd call this shot as well. I think the Gays for Palestine would endorse him. It kind of it's like the two. Look, the one thing I will say, he is anti-war. I mean, yeah, it'd be great to get that, but I'm not interested in hurting children to get. I'm not interested in hurting children to get to anti-war. Like that doesn't. Those two things don't equate themselves.
He called me about a week after the convention. In fact, it was exactly a week. I was in Chicago planning to do. The next day I was going to do filming for a documentary on my last book, and he called. I was he was very nice. I have nothing against Chase personally. We got along great during the campaign. I told him many times, look, I'm not some Mises Caucus ogre. I'm a real person. I treat people like individuals. And I didn't have anything personal animus against him. And he said to me on the phone that he wanted me to help him with the anti-war message. And I said I'd be more than happy to. But then I haven't heard from them since. So,
well, I mean, hey, you did your part, and that's that.
We're happy to do it. We're happy to push. Horton's writing his book. I mean, we're all talking about that, right? Provoked. I mean, Sean, you and I talked about it as well. It's like we're all excited about.
I have a copy of it, by the way.
Nice.
I've already read it.
Any thoughts on it? What are your thoughts so far?
I've already read
some
it.
Skimming.
It's it's so comprehensive and well documented that it's going to blow your mind. And he doesn't make any flimsy arguments. He goes on for like must be 20, 25 pages showing how after the Cold War was over, how many promises were made to the Soviet Union that NATO would not expand eastward. Okay?
Yep.
These were oral, but he has a great deal of documentation supporting those oral statements. And so he's the rest of the whole book's like that. He makes arguments, but he backs this shit up. He backs it up pretty well. I mean, I'm a historian. That's what that's my academic training, history of science, and I take sourcing and all that very seriously. And it's totally well sourced, and it's very well argued, and it shows the case that leading all the way up and through to the Ukrainian to the war in Ukraine. All of the reneging that the U.S. did, all the lies, all the crap. Now, he's very balanced as well. I'd say it's it's a great read. I don't want to give away everything, but
no, not at all. And it's kind of like, I would almost make it, and I hate to say it's like akin to the Martyr Made Fear and Loathing in the New Jerusalem, but Daryl Cooper just lays out what the chronological order of what happened was and how it happened. And then he goes, now you get to decide how it works for you. Cause like you get to pick a side if you really want to pick a side, or you could, pick no side.
Right. What's that book again?
It's a podcast by Daryl Cooper. It's called Fear and Loathing in the New Jerusalem. It's like 25 hours long, but it is like an audiobook. I mean, it is to your point, comprehensive. Scott references it multiple times. I like all the guys do, like McAdams, who Kyle Anzalone, who do we keep talking about? Dave DeCamp. Who's the other guy you mentioned as well? They're slipping my mind, but all those guys, at the Libertarian Institute and everything, talk about it.
Okay.
There's nobody, like, when it comes to anti-war stuff and getting the war message out and getting the right information out, Scott Horton is second to none, period.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Like, in my opinion, like, that guy just knows his shit. He knows exactly what to say. He's done his research. When it comes to receipts, oh, my God.
No, like, he's got the receipts. My work in that regard has been more... I've sourced everything that I do, but it's more about global ism, really, I would say, and
right.
Not geopolitical per se. So it's just different type of field.
Well, I mean, globalism is important to understand, too, because we're living it. This is our everyday, like, we are literally being ruled by, satanic globalist pedophiles. Like, I'm not going to. This is what it is right now. Like, and it's not just our government; it's governments all over the world. And they're run by BlackRock and the WEF. And when we talk about Larry Fink, like, Larry Fink is the whole brains behind the WEF.
ESG.
So, this is why
he is the ESG king. He's also on the board of the WEF. I forget which board it is. It's the main board, I guess.
That's his operation. Klaus is just the face.
Yes. I mean, Klaus just says propaganda, and Larry Fink executes it, and says propaganda too. Yeah, but they rebranded now. They're trying to get away.
Yeah, they did. He backed off it. Yeah, it did.
Yeah, they're
it's
just
crazy
trying.
Talk. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
Well, I was just going to try to wrap it up. I don't want to keep everybody forever. I appreciate everybody's time.
Yeah. And we'll come back with another. I'll come back and drop some more bombs later.
We like.
There you go. Yeah, we want to hear this exciting news.
And we love to drop truth, and we love to just get our voice out there when it comes to this the nonsense. But Mr. Rectenwald, I do feel like you should be the presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party. Unfortunately, corruption got in the way, and it wasn't anybody's fault. Like you said, I don't want to blame it on the leadership. There are so many factors that come into play, but
right.
Here we are. We're doing the thing, and you guys, thank you so much.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Peace, love, and liberty. Y'all be good.